After I finish recording one of these Starpoint episodes, I listen to the entire episode from beginning to end the next time I'm out on a drive, and it's been a lot of listening to my own voice, and it's not always fun, but I'm looking for errors. It's kind of a necessary thing I have to do because I usually find one or two little things that I do need to fix, like some weird silence that I somehow made a mistake in editing in, or the listener mail music just starts randomly playing. Yeah, so I do have to listen to my own voice more than I would like to, and I have to say I'm really happy to finally listen to a podcast about Go that doesn't involve me. I'm talking about All Things Go, a new podcast that has launched in the past couple weeks. There's 2 episodes out right now at the time of this recording, and I've listened to both of them, and it's fantastic. You should go check it out. It's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, probably other places. I'm not 100% sure. But it's really great. It's actually, if you're one of those people who've been itching for interview format more, that's the podcast. It seems like all the episodes of All Things Go are in interview format. So I'm really happy that there's another podcast to listen to because it's a great way to take a break from my own voice. Welcome to Starpoint, the show about Go for Go fans away from the board, and it's a listener mail catch-up episode. The Go versus Chess episode was not only big in terms of the amount of listener mail and feedback that I received, but it was also picked up pretty well by the YouTube algorithm. It received a pretty big spike. Looks like a lot of people want to compare Go and chess. So let's dive into the mail and talk more about Go versus chess and listen to what you guys have to think about this subject. Jeff writes in, "Hi Justin, I have been a big fan of your podcast for a while now. I really appreciate the content and the high production quality of your work. The Go versus Chess episode allows me to say hi and comment on several things at once. Edit for length as needed." Oh ho ho, we are not going to be editing this email. We're going to be doing a long read through of all these beautiful comments submitted by all of you. First, to how I started playing Go. My Nana, who loved games, taught me chess at about the age of 7, and I would play with family members and against myself and even read a couple of books. Chess started my love of strategy games. I was first introduced to Go about 4 years later from a book of board games my Nana had, the Board Game Book by Klutz Press, which had a very thorough rule description and a 9x9 board with a full set of small, single convex stones. The rules covered everything from capturing territory, ko, seki, snapbacks, and basic strategy. I couldn't play with anyone, but I was fascinated by the abstractness and potential complexity of the game. That is very interesting. The Board Game Book is, I assume it's not about Go, it's about a lot of board games, but to go into all that stuff in like a little section where it's just about that one game, Go, is pretty impressive. I'm curious about that book. And you said that it comes with a full set of small convex. Did it just come with the Go equipment, or did it also come with other board game stuff? It's very intriguing. I'm gonna have to look that up later. Continuing, a couple of years later, I recognized the game being described as Stones in my favorite book series, The Wheel of Time. Yes, I've mentioned this one, or someone's mentioned this one before. And there is one point about the game in the books I wanted to add to what a previous listener mentioned. In the early books, the game was used often as a very important character attribute, which marked the character as a tactician or mastermind type. Rulers and generals played the game, and games were the cause of great grudges between main character. I also agree with the comment of yours that Stones is a fantastic name for the game, and we should make that happen. Yeah, it's really cool. I like that name. I feel like if it was maybe if Go was a Western game, it would be called that. That Wheel of Time series, it seems pretty popular. I'm gonna have to check that out and see if I'm not really big into fantasy reading, but maybe I can always pick it up. Continuing, back to how I started playing Go. In the early 2000s, I had started working as a computer engineer, and I was reminded of Go again, as it was brought up often in articles talking about the progression of computing power and AI. I decided to start doing research on the game, which was not easy at the time, and taught myself the basics of the game and found a set and some books online. I was eventually able to find translations of the Hikaru no Go manga, which also helped me learn a lot about the game. It seems like you have kind of a similar path as I did, where, and I think a lot of people out there too, because we heard about the game, we learned a little bit about it, and then as we, lived our lives, it came back up somewhere in our lives, and then it reminded us again. We learn a little more, we pick it up, and then eventually we get super into it, as kind of what I'm hearing from this. Continuing. When I started playing, I remember how much I was drawn to the abstractness of the game when I first learned of it, and that leads us to the point of the recent episode, the reason I chose Go over chess. Go feels less encumbered by rigid rules and concepts in comparison to chess. As a result, much of the gameplay and many of the important concepts in Go are emergent from the very simple rules, which I still find very fascinating. The abstractness of Go allows me to apply lessons from everyday life, as well as analogies and concepts from all forms of conflict, from verbal sparring to aerial bombardment. I like that. Aerial bombardment is definitely something I feel like does happen on the board sometimes. That is all for now. I'll probably write again. Keep up the great work. P.S. You might see me interacting online with your podcast as Unix Janitor on Reddit. Oh, okay, you're Unix Janitor. Oh. And Jeffrey H. from Spotify support. Thank you so much for your contributions. And it's kind of interesting to see like this whole email, read it, that it's from you, and then see that Unix Janitor is this the same person. It's kind of wild. I don't know. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of nothing, but I like that email. Please do write again. Thank you for writing in, and that just kind of makes me think more about why I like Go, because I do, again, like as I said in that episode, I do like both games, but the thing that's unique and special about Go, for me at least, it's so hard to describe into words, but when you're playing and you see how the stones interact with each other, it's just such a deep pattern that you just don't see. I mean, it's not quite the same feeling as in chess. I mean, there are deep patterns in chess too, but it's just different. Anyway, I would love to see what other people have to say about this topic. Silver writes in, "Hi, I discovered Go last year. Before that, I've been playing chess. Not much, but I knew the moves from my childhood. Then me and my partner decided that it would be fun to try some other board games besides chess. So I started searching on the internet, and somehow eventually I stumbled upon Go. We preferred a game that wouldn't depend on luck or dice, but rather on mental abilities, like chess. Go is such a game, but it was very confusing. So we thought, okay, let Silver, find out how it works so I can teach it to her. It took me a lot of time before I finally understood the scoring system. I prefer Japanese scoring. It was the most confusing aspect from the beginning. I know, this is always the one. This is always the thing that gets beginners confused, is how you score. And I've been developing an idea to maybe make it easier on beginners to learn how to score, and I want to share with you in a future episode. But yeah, that's, everybody knows that scoring is very confusing in Go. But I also wanted to comment on the fact that both of you were looking for a luckless strategy game. I think it's very, very rare for both people in a couple to want to do that. It's usually like one person likes the deep strategy and the other person kind of likes the luck and the thrill of risking it all kind of thing. But anyway, continuing. In a way, it was the most confusing from the beginning. In a way, it still is. Hypothetically, if you split a board in two by building a wall of stones or two walls, and if these walls don't have two eyes, it's still considered as alive, although one can, in principle, surround these stones. I'm trying to picture what you just said. If you split a board in two by building a wall of stones or two walls, and if these walls don't have two... Oh, I see, like you're saying like a stone that's clearly alive, but it doesn't technically have two eyes. Oh, you made an illustration, but when I copied it over into my... Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I have the illustration, and the illustration's basically just a, what is this, a 9 by 9, and you have like a wall of white stones and a wall of black stones, and it's like split almost evenly. And I think I understood correctly what you're trying to say is that these are not really groups with actual eyes, which I know that can be very confusing. And you can technically, if you had unlimited moves as one color or the other, you would be able to capture those stones. So the thing about being alive or dead is not so clear, and I agree with you there. Continuing, yes, I know now how it works, and that sometimes it's a matter of agreement and whether one attempts to invade or not, but yes, it takes time to understand it. Because I don't have my own proper Go set, me and my father created a Go 9x9 board with 45 plus 45 stones, all made of oak. It took us 4 days to make it. He made the board on which I drew the 9x9 grid, and there's room for 13x13 on the other side. I drilled 2 centimeter diameter stones from oak slats, then polished them with sandpaper. This black oak is from a wooden ship that has been at least 75 years in salty seawater, in which it has turned black, and white oak is, well, just oak. Wow, that's awesome. That's cool how you're like playing with... See, I think the idea of wooden stones is pretty foreign to most Go players, but I've seen some examples and they actually look really cool. And also, I've also made a 9x9 board, although I have never made my own stones because I just kind of use the stones that I have. But the way I did the 9x9 was my friend had a laser cutting and engraving machine, and I had some cheap wood lying around, and I designed the thing on Illustrator and had her cut the board and have it engrave the thing for me, and then I just kind of did some other stuff with it, but maybe I'll talk about that more in another episode. Continuing, next difficult task still awaits me to rise enough interest in my lovely partner that she would be interested in playing Go with me. As you all know, Go has a rather steep learning curve until it might become interesting enough that someone would be voluntarily willing to play it. Oh, I'm right there with you, brother. My girlfriend is mildly interested in Go. She's not completely against the idea, but I think there are things she'd rather do. What I love about Go is that I think Go is a lot calmer game than chess, at least for me. In chess, if I make a stupid mistake and lose an important piece, then sometimes I get a bit upset, as if it's unfair I would have won. Lose one piece can change a lot, but Go is like a marathon, more even, long-term strategic, even on a 9x9 or 13x13 board, I think, at least compared to chess. And I always love playing it. Even if I lose, I still love playing Go. I'm gonna say I feel like I've had the reverse sentiment about Go, where when you are like, I've played a game where I was dead even with my opponent, and I didn't know. Like, maybe I thought, okay, I was either ahead or I was behind, whatever. And I was a little bit careless with endgame moves. I was just kind of like, oh, I wasn't putting much thought into it. It takes a lot of like brain power to really analyze the board and find the best endgame. It's like a lot of calculation stuff. And I'm just kind of like, usually I'm just kind of like, you know what? It's probably not going to make a difference. And I just play like just whatever comes to mind. Turns out I lose by half a point. And there is a situation where I was more like, I would have won if I just paid a little more attention to the end game. But yeah, chess can definitely end all of a sudden, where you just kind of move your piece like one square in the wrong direction, bam, your queen's gone, bam, your knight's gone, your bishop's gone, or whatever, and it's kind of just, oh man. It depends on your level, I think, as well. Continuing. P.S. I find it most interesting when asking how one has discovered Go, and how did they manage to overcome the learning curve, and what they love about Go. For me, it was easy because the game is interesting enough, and I never felt that I would want to quit. Oh, and I love the community. Everyone is almost always so friendly and polite. Yeah, I think that's also a super interesting question. I think if you listen to the field interviews episode I think that was my favorite question that I asked people in terms of how they learned Go or how they discovered Go. It's an interesting question because a lot of people have different experiences, and it takes a certain personality to get past that initial learning curve. PPS, my best rank on OGS is 16K, around 5 to 6 months of playing, 870 games in total, mostly 9x9, sometimes 13x13, and a few 19x19 games on Go Panda. I want to get myself a physical 19x19 board before I start playing more 19x19 virtual games. Keep up the good work. I finally caught up on listening to all the Starpoint episodes. Always interesting to listen. Greetings from Europe, Estonia. Silver, yes, that's my real name. Well, that's a very cool name, and I'm sure you know it. But I want to give you a little bit of advice. Don't be scared of the 19x19. You should jump right into it. It's very beautiful. That there's a beauty on the 19x19 that you don't get on the smaller board sizes. I wouldn't delay if I were you, but it's your choice. If you like the 13x13 and such, there's no real reason to move up. But I personally think you should jump to the 19x19. And you've shared some lovely photos of your Go board and stones that you made, and these are fantastic. I love it. It's great. Feels like I don't have a good enough vocabulary for this, but I'm gonna say it looks awesome. I'll try to share some of these with podcast listeners as well. Hope you don't mind. These are great. I'd love to see how they feel and sound. I feel like that would be a very unique experience. Thanks for writing in again, Silver. Cantor's Set writes, I like both games, but Go is better. I need to quibble with your point about mobile Go. It's fine, you just need to turn confirm move on. I play 90% of my games on mobile. I'm very curious, do you play on OGS or you play on some other app like GoQuest or I don't even know what's out there. Or Hadoop Pop maybe? I don't know. I want to know what you play with. I think it's always been kind of finicky for me to do confirm move. I feel like I guess you should probably not play with too fast a time control. I'm gonna have to give it a try. Though I know that Go takes longer though, so it's like I can't just like quickly pop in a game when I have like 15 minutes of time. I feel like unless you're playing 9x9, maybe maybe that solves the mobile problem. Anyway, thanks for your insight. Arsene Group writes, I just find that chess too often winds up in closed positions and trying to grind out tiny advantages in whose pieces control the best squares on the board. We're trading off pieces to escape the closed position based on some heuristics about who comes off ahead in the given pawn, bishop, knight trade, but not really knowing if the trade you did made you better off or worse off. Go definitely has radically more unique and creative positions and is generally more dynamic, though I'm nowhere near good enough to partake in the deep stuff yet. Thanks for writing in our scene group. I feel like the more I read everybody's feedback on why they may not like chess, a lot of the stuff you're saying about chess, I'm like, wait a second, I feel that way about Go sometimes. There's a lot of, what you said here, it's like there's a lot of trades you got to do in chess, and you just like don't really know whether you're better or worse off. In Go, that's like the thing that kind of gets people is you play moves and you're just like, I don't know if that was good or bad. It's even more like that, I feel like, because there's that saying, right? In chess, you make a bad move, you realize it one move later. In Go, you make a bad move, 20 moves, 30 moves later, you'll realize that you made a bad move, or you may not even realize that was the reason. But hey, that's not really what matters. What matters is that you like Go and that you prefer it. And it's definitely feels like there are more creative positions and it's dynamic. I don't know. It's very subjective, all these comments, but I can agree with what you're saying at the same time. Thanks for writing in. Dro Femboy writes, this is definitely true. I find that once every 4 games or so in chess, I'll get to a position where I'm just like, this board state This board state sucks. I can't move anything I want to, and I don't want to move anything I can. And in a lot of matches that I'm winning, I know that my opponent is exactly in that position. LOL. There's a chess term for that, isn't there? It's like Zugzwang, or I'm not really there's like two Z or Z for the Canadians chess terms that that I always mix up. Zugzwang and I forgot what the other one was called. But there's one of them that means that you don't, like, you're stuck in a position where you don't want to move. And I think that's definitely something where in Go, you always do want to make a move. There's no downside to having a turn in Go, I think. Thanks for writing in. A Tall Brick Wall writes, chess too often winds up in closed positions and trying to grind out. Oh, I already read that one. Didn't I already read that one? Oh, I either read this one or you plagiarized. Or you're responding. Ah, that's what it is. I'm slow, sorry. Chess too often winds up in closed positions and trying to grind out tiny advantages, which is, I think, the part that I read before. This is actually more apparent in Go than in chess. While Go games occasionally end in huge deaths, more often you can win by simply harassing a weak group over and over while you gain a point or two advantage at a time. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is like some of these comments, it's like you're complaining about chess, but I can easily flip it and talk about Go in the same way. It writes, I just find that chess too often what is... Did I do something where I copied everybody's comment? I think that's what I did. I think I copied like a reply chain, and I'm reading the same comment over and over again. All right, sorry about that, guys. This is a response to that, I think, as well. About the chess often winding up in closed positions. Most of that's on you if you often find yourself in closed positions which you don't enjoy. Play of openings that lead to open. You know what? I'm just gonna move on from that since it's a chain of comments. Ginaz writes, I like how elegant Go is, but finding a random Go player is hard. It's very interesting to meet a stranger and start playing chess with them. Yes, I agree. That's one of the pain points of Go. It's hard to find a random Go player. You almost never do. Which is why I'm so blessed to have these, like, two friends that just happen to play Go in my life that definitely were a major part of convincing me to get into the hobby. Hey, you say it's interesting to meet a stranger and start playing chess with them. I'd say then maybe it's even more interesting to meet a stranger and start playing Go with them. Thanks for writing in. Big Blind Buys says, during the Q&A segment, you said you were not sure about what someone was talking about when they were mentioning points that they may or may not count in sekis, depending on the rule set. Here are some examples. So this is regarding, I believe, one of my tournament episodes about the LA Open, because one of my games ended in a seki, and I wasn't sure about the scoring situation, and looks like Big Blind Buys has come to save the day and explain what it means to count or not count points in seki. Looking at the examples, I can tell you that my situation did not fit these. The examples that Big Blind Buys has shown me here are where there are stones in seki, but some of the stones have their own individual points of territory, where, like, you know, if either player would play in that area, you could easily, you know, would put themselves into Atari, but they also have like little holes in them. Would be kind of hard to, there's a if you go to the seki page on Sensei's library, you'll find all the examples that Big Blind has shown here. But yeah, my game, I remember in the tournament, did not have any, you know, holes like this, or eyes. I don't know what would you call them, because they're not really eyes, they're not really territory, but yeah, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Continuing, under Japanese rules, neither player makes any point in those situations. However, under Chinese and AGA rules, white will respectively make 2, 1, and 2 points due to the eyes, whether false or not in each situation. Okay, so I guess in AGA rules, if I did have like a surrounded point somewhere in the seki, that would count. No points there, so it didn't apply to me. Thanks for the clarification. That actually does help a lot. Voodoo Child writes, played chess in middle school. I played Go in college, just got back into chess this year, a decade after. I think Go helped me improve in both. I like both for different moods. I'm with you there. That's kind of how I feel. And I do feel that they kind of play off each other. I think it's more common that Go will help with your chess rather than chess helping with Go. Because something about reading in Go, I feel like that muscle, it's similar to when I'm playing chess. Like I can rely on that and say, oh, I can just kind of predict what's going to happen. Of course, it can get very difficult because, you know, you've moved pieces and they're all like pointing at different things, and it's different, but you know. Thanks for writing in. Sanguinarian Phoenix writes, I'll admit you have a ton of motivation behind these podcasts. If I were doing it, I'd be burnt out after just 6 to 7 episodes and run out of things to talk about. Thanks for the props there, Sanguinarian Phoenix. I don't know how I'm doing this either, but I guess I used to get in trouble for talking too much in class when I was in elementary school, so maybe there's something behind that. Anyway, thanks. Britta Mousepad said, I think the big difference in the West nowadays is the access to resources, which you alluded to. It is astronomical how much of an impact Twitch and YouTube content creators have contributed to the game, and all having different personalities. Even just someone like GM Hikaru, Daniel Naroditsky, the Botez sisters, GM Benjamin Feingold, etc. would greatly improve the accessibility of the game to a wide audience. Thanks for writing in, Britta Mousepad. I don't know if this is fair to the big players in the Go world like Nick Sabicki or Dwyrin. I think they're, you know, on par with all these other creators as well. It's just that Go is not as popular, so people just don't tune in as much, and so everything's going to be scaled down. If, you know, Dwyrin or Nick Sabicki or Go Inside or whoever blew up, right? They would take a drastically different dynamic with their audience. So, yeah, I mean, that's my 2 cents. I think it's, you know, it has to do with the scale of things, and it's always going to feel, I think, a little bit different. Maybe one day these worlds will collide. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for your insight. Bobby Dibby writes, one thing about Go and mobile, the mobile PandaNet app, the screen zooms in when you place a stone to make sure you don't misclick. Another reason why PandaNet is superior, but I digress. That's another point. I need to try PandaNet, but that one time I tried to try PandaNet, I couldn't find a game. And maybe I'll try the mobile version. I think a long time ago I did play some mobile games on PandaNet. I'll have to try. Maybe that's the mobile app I'll try out. Thanks for writing in, Bobby Dibby. Mr. Tusif says, in my opinion, chess is about the intellectual dominance of your opponent. Go, on the other hand, feels more like a conversation or negotiation with your opponent. I think that's reasonable to say. Although sometimes Go does feel like a very intense fight and a disagreement. But overall, chess is, I think, more violent, right? I mean, in Go, you don't have to resort to violence. You can choose to, but there's the option for some level of peace in Go. Thanks for writing in, Mr. Tusif. And Mike99 or MYK99 writes, disclaimer, long-time tournament chess player, new Go player. I have come to dislike hearing comparisons from Go players about how Go is superior, deeper, or more complex game than chess. I often hear things like chess is a fight while Go is a war, and chess was invented, Go was discovered. So when I first saw this episode come out, I was a little skeptical. However, I feel like you did a great job of keeping it impartial and stating the facts about both sides. Thanks so much for that. I definitely do not want to hate on chess. I also don't like it when people just say straight up that Go is a better game. Although, I mean, sometimes people just have colorful language. If anyone's seen The Wire, there's that chess scene where the guy just comes up and says, why are you guys playing checkers? Chess is a better game. And I mean, you can't help but agree with that, at least, although checkers is also very a deep game as well, I'm sure. I haven't gotten super into it. But in general, I mean, I love both games, so I think there's no reason to hate on either of them and try to compare the two. But sometimes riling it up a little bit, like Pepsi versus Coke brand fight, can increase popularity in the two. As clearly as you can see with the YouTube video or the YouTube podcast episode that I recently did with Go versus Chess being one of the, I mean, I think it's the most viewed now. So There's something there, but continuing, I digress. There is something about both games that draws me to them: inherent complexity. The objective of the game and the rules are simple and straightforward, yet layers of complexity keep piling up, creating both chaos and beauty. Please keep up the podcast. You are doing a great job, and it keeps new people like me emotionally engaged with the game. P.S. I agree that Go sounds much better. Thanks so much for your kind words. It really always helps to hear things like that. And that's really all I want to do here, is to just help people, like you said, be emotionally engaged with the game. I'm not always playing Go, but it's really, I don't know, it's just something so interesting to me. And one thing that I like about both Go and chess is that it's an activity that you just sit there in silence. That's not very common. And especially with two people, just together and sitting there in silence, I think is a beautiful thing. Thanks for writing in. Deep Emulsion writes, I play both chess and Go, but I find myself wanting to play Go way more these days, and personally I like it a lot more. I feel like winning in Go is more satisfying than when I win in chess. Player base is the biggest drawback for me, though, since it can be hard to find people to play with, although I just taught 3 people how to play this past weekend, so I hope they stick with it. Thanks for rating it. That's actually awesome. It's so impressive that you taught 3 people how to play. That's incredible. You're doing a great service. And I think I can relate to the winning in Go being more satisfying than chess. It feels kind of like a big, epic thing sometimes. Chess, obviously there's some awesome, cool things that happen in chess, but sometimes chess can turn out like a little mini game. And Go, there are games that just have this epic intensity that lasts like over an hour, and when you finally pull off that win, it's just really satisfying. So I definitely feel you there. Thanks for writing in. Baxibilla8966 writes, I have an old chessboard in my family which is 100 to 110 years old. It's pretty large and has a beautiful sound, as satisfying as any expensive Go board I played on. Although the pieces have fabric on the underside, it just makes the sound deeper by absorbing high pitches. That's incredible. That's just the fact that it's over 100 years old is, and it's, you know, something that you pass down in your family. It's just a beautiful thing. I wish I had something like that, and I'm really jealous. I would love to hear what that chess set sounds like. I'm trying to imagine it, but I'm sure it's doing no justice to what it actually is. But yeah, Go, in my opinion, is just a better game. I played chess semi-competitively from a young age and always liked it. When I was around 20, I found a cheap Go board and started playing with my girlfriend. In 2 months, I read most of Sensei's library and went to any live event possible. I'm pretty bad at Go ever since, one dawn on a better day, but I play almost every day and love it. Whoa, 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 whoa. You can't say that you're pretty bad at Go and say that you're one dawn on a better day. You just offended 90% of the Go community. And you read most of Sensei's library. You know how big Sensei's library is? There are so many obscure articles on that thing. It's like the what's it called? Library of Alexandria of Go, I think. I call it that because I swear one day it's gonna somehow go down and we're gonna lose a bunch of Go knowledge. But anyway, continuing. Recently, I found chess again, and I found a new fascination with it. It has more quantum entanglement-like behavior. In Go, there are non-local 2D connections with ko and ladders and such, but it's still mostly local and 2D. Chess is full of non-2D topology of causality, which is nice to experience. I'd say chess is a better game than 9x9 Go, but has nothing on 19x19. 19x19 Go is full of flow, elegance, depth, and creativity. I would love to know more about your idea about 2D and Go and chess being non-2D, or chess being non-2D. My only guess here from reading your comment is that you're talking about how the pieces of a chessboard are moving positionally, but there's also the second dynamic layer of the ability of each piece to move in certain directions, and they're kind of eyeing each other. And Although I think Go, I guess you could kind of say that simply it is two-dimensional. I mean, it's a feeling thing. I think at the end of the day, it does feel, yes, like a quantum entanglement. But there's something to the character of Go as well, I think, that you definitely can't capture in chess. Anyway, that was a very interesting comment. Thank you for writing in. And Gideon writes, great episode. I would also like to suggest another episode topic. Streaming Go or Go live streamer? What streamers do you watch? What makes a Go stream entertaining? I really love the OGS announcements for Twitch. I think it helps building Go communities. Also saw a Go stream on YouTube Shorts the other day and was really surprised by it. Do people stream Go on TikTok? And then also streaming live competitions and do commentary. Thanks for writing in, Gideon, and thanks for the episode idea. I'm actually I kind of pop into Twitch every now and then, and I watch a few Go streamers sometimes. But I did also have that experience of getting suggested random Go streams on YouTube Shorts, and it's been kind of feeding the algorithm a little bit, and I've been getting Korean Go streams, and sometimes I pop in for a game. It kind of just feels like I'm watching a game on OGS, which honestly I think I did that today, and it was really enjoyable. Thanks for the idea, Gideon. Ake607 writes, I really liked that episode. Very interesting to compare them in an area I didn't expect at all. I realize only now how satisfying the stonk of the stones is, and that chess is surprisingly silent in comparison. I knew the rules of chess before Go, and I play both games, although I'm more proficient at Go. I couldn't explain why, however. As I started playing, I quickly got the hang of it, how the stones move, how they behave. Reading a Sumego is becoming automatic. I spot potential cuts with little efforts. When I look at an engine move, I usually understand their motivation. Being a Q player, I have a lot to learn, obviously, and by no means do I pretend to have figured the game out. But I got the flow of it relatively quickly. I think that's also another aspect that's interesting, is that it's just the games are just different in quality and matches certain people better, I think. And that's what I initially was trying to figure out for myself when I had a dilemma between Go and chess. I was like, which one kind of feels more like what I would be into? And the answer just kind of came out eventually, just out of pure enjoyment of the game. Continuing. On the other hand, chess is still mysterious to me. Sometimes I look at my position and I have no idea who is better, no idea where the potential weaknesses are. Even when looking at engines' moves, I can't figure out their justification. I put my bishop in f4. Engine says it's an inaccuracy and prefers g5. Why? No idea. Other times, I have no idea how to progress and I'm almost tempted to pass my turn whilst in Go. I always have multiple candidate moves, and I can always justify my moves. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I never play a waiting move, unlike in chess. That's interesting. I think that you kind of pointed out something interesting about Go, which is the intuitive side of Go. It's visual, and it kind of suits the game very well. Whereas in chess, there is also an intuitive aspect to it. There's a lot of concrete stuff where you'll just lose pieces after certain sequences, but there are positions on the board where it's just very difficult to tell what you're supposed to do and why certain moves are better. And that's a common theme in Go, but in Go, at least there's this kind of visual pattern. You can kind of guess at what it is. I think that's kind of what you're getting at here. Continuing, that's a funny difference. In Go, you never want to pass, although you can. In chess, sometimes you want to pass, but you can't. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I was kind of hinting at earlier with the Zugzwang, Zigenswang? I forget what it is. About the differences, one major thing to me is the draw. You cannot force a draw in Go, whilst in chess, players can silently agree to a draw by exchanging all their pieces. Even worse, white can play for a draw and force black to take risks and worsen his position to go for the win. For me, this is absurd. I've seen so many high-level games where one player clearly dominates, but because they fail to convert their advantage at the correct moment, it'll end in a draw. You said in your episode about hot takes that if two players display equal strength in the game, they should have equal results. For me, chess has the opposite problem. One player can have a much better play and still fail to get a superior result. Interesting. I think very reasonable statements here, but I want to also maybe provide a devil's advocate argument for chess players in that maybe a true win, is the ability to actually take a legitimate win without drawing, and that's an actual threshold, kind of like in tennis. To win a game, you need to win by 2. So it's just kind of like a larger threshold, whereas in Go, you can win by a very, 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 very narrow margin. I think it just makes both games interesting in their own respects. Continuing, another one is the weight of the rules. It's hard to explain, so let me give an example. In chess, you cannot castle if the king moves because it's in the rules. Pawns can move twice on their first movement because it's the rules. Knights can jump over pieces because, well, it's the rules. A threefold repetition is a draw because it's the rules. When playing, I feel the rules restraining my movements, what I can and cannot do. I don't have that feeling with Go. The rules of Go feel more like the rules of physics that you must navigate to win. With the exception of Go, I never tell myself I can't do that, that's against the rules when playing Go. That's, I think, every Go player, I think, understands that there is this unique aspect of Go, which is so... We tout this game as being so simple, and I think this is kind of what we're focused on when we say that, is that it's so open field. Like, you can do whatever you want on the board. It's so Wild West, almost, to just say, hey, just play a stone anywhere. Just don't kill yourself, and don't, repeat the board position. Anything outside of that, it's go crazy, right? But in chess, it's a very human game. It's like Go is like a transcendent kind of feeling game where people think it's been discovered and all that stuff. And chess is like, it's very what do you call it? Idiosyncratic, right? I just think they're just different characters, but Go is certainly unique in that regard. I don't know. It seems very like geometric and mathy. Another difference is that in chess, one player can force the game to end through checkmate. This allows for fast time control. One player cannot stall time indefinitely, which makes blitz and bullet popular time formats. In Go, even blitz games take some time. There was a blitz competition in Geneva with 20 minutes for each player's no increment. The games quickly turned into who can place stones the fastest, regardless of whether it's a good move or not. So that is another point taken away, I think, from Go and given to chess, is that you can just end the game in chess in a lot of situations. Not all situations. There's like these end games where you just move pieces back and forth and you do draw stuff out. But Go is like, I mean, maybe it's part of the beauty, but you do have to agree with your opponent, like, hey, let's stop playing now. You can literally, like, if you want it to be very, very BM or bad-mannered, you could just play stones covering the... I don't even know if you could... I feel like you could almost just play nearly, like, as many moves as you want. You could just fill the board constantly and never end the game, and it would just never end. I wonder if anyone's done that. That's just an interesting thing. And so it's like, on one hand, yeah, Go has this weakness of being able to be stalled for an indefinite amount of time. But on the other hand, that is something that people do find beautiful, is that you do have to come to an agreement to end the game, which is also a very unique thing. Finally, the International Federation. I've heard a lot of criticism about FIDE, but you have to admit they do a decent job at promoting the game worldwide. The World Championship, World Cup, and Grand Swiss are all competitions followed by so many people from everywhere. Go doesn't have that. I'd honestly like a World Go Championship. Having a person with an official title, Go World Champion, would do a lot to promote the game. 100% agree there with you on this. Even if we had a corrupt, I'm not saying I want a corrupt organization, but it's like, these are kind of like good problems to have. If you're at the level of popularity of FIDE and things like that, you're gonna run into some issues. And I think that I would love for Go to be at that world stage level, and even if it means that, yeah, some issues are probably going to come up and you're going to have to face them and deal with them, and people are going to complain, but that's the cost of becoming global. And thanks so much for your well-written comment. And Yaroslav Yusak, last but not least, says, it's a bit unfair to compare popularity of Go and chess in the Western world. If you compare the popularity of Go to shogi or xiangqi, then Go clearly wins. However, low popularity of Go is a big downside because it is much harder to find an opponent to play against on a real board. I don't know about the US, but in Europe, the biggest cities have Go clubs with 5 to 30 members in each in average. But outside big cities, it's almost impossible to find a single soul to play with. Thanks for your comment, Yaroslav Yusak. And I think it's similar in the US, where you can find some clubs around the big cities, but if you're going to be out in the boonies, then it's probably pretty difficult to find someone. About your comment about Go being more popular than shogi or xiangqi, I think on the contrary, from what I've heard, in China and in Japan, those chess-like games are actually more popular than Go. And in Korea, that's the only place where Go is more popular than Korean chess. I don't know where Western or international chess fits into all this, but I'm pretty sure Go is actually not super popular. I mean, it's way more popular over there than over here, but in terms of between chess, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure shogi and xiangqi in their respective countries are more popular than Go. And that's enough of chess listener mail. So that was a huge listener mail segment about chess. There's just certain topics that really spark the community discussions. And I just want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you who has written in this episode or in any previous episode. It's really interesting to hear all your thoughts and talk about your comments on the podcast. It's really enjoyable for me. And I don't know how long I can keep up with reading pretty much every single piece of comment or mail that I get. And it depends on whether you guys enjoy this stuff or not as well. So, let me know in the comments if you have any strong opinions about the listener mail segments for this show. I certainly enjoy it. It's one of my favorite parts, I think, to just go in and dig into all the comments that people have. Of course, if the more or less listener mail that comes in, I'm going to have to modify the way I do things. But anyway, it's enough of listener mail. Let's get into some Go news before we go back into listener mail for the other last episode about, I think it's the one about Otake Hideo's book. So first piece of Go news is that the AGA board nominations have been updated, and I just wanted to mention this because Adam Anaya and Michael Zhao have been nominated for the AGA board. I mentioned Michael Zhao because he was the tournament director of the LA Open that I attended not too long ago. Just thought I'd give him a shout out here. And PolGote.com launches a new website. PolGote was a website originally, but it's been relaunched, and now it has a full-fledged teacher matchmaking service where you can go and look for a teacher at any rate, and then they'll have their rates listed, and you can see whether they offer individual or group lessons. And I have to give my compliments to Mateusz Surma, who has run this website, who is running this website, and has done a fantastic job of the UI. I don't know how he did it, what his involvement in that is, but whatever it is, I approve. I took a quick look at the website, and it looks brand spanking new. Go check it out. The 44th World Amateur Go Championship took place on the 19th to the 22nd of May in Tokyo, Japan. And the Nihon Ki-in was actually also celebrating its centennial. And the results have come in. First place of the World Amateur Go Championship was Bai Baoxiang from China. Second place, Kim Jong-sun from Korea, and then in third place, Ozeki Minoru from Japan. No surprise there. Korea, China, Japan, the three kingdoms of Go taking the top three spots. But following shortly behind them were Thailand, Taiwan, Hungary, Macau, and Hong Kong. It was a truly international Go tournament. I think it's incredible that all these 60 different countries from all over the world, not just Asia, are participating in something like this. And I think we need more tournaments like this, especially at the pro level. I feel like we need some kind of pro middle ground for non-Korea, China, Japan countries to compete on a world stage. Shin Jin-seo reaches 800 career wins. This is, I guess, this is kind of notable, but at the same time, still not as many, I believe, as Park Jung-hwan or Lee Chang-ho. Still a long way to go. I think he's maybe getting to like halfway to Lee Chang-ho's career wins. But, I mean, Shin Jin-seo still has a long career ahead of him, I think. A movie called Gobanjiri, a Japanese movie, Gobanjiri, is set to release on May 17th. So it would have released, it's out somewhere. I don't know how to get to it. I don't know how to watch it, but I thought this was interesting. It was a screenplay by Masato Keito, which sounds like Keito Masao, and I thought it was him at first, and I realized that's not the same person. But he developed the screenplay, and the film is based on someone who's more informed about Japanese culture will know more about this, but the Rakugo story, Yanagida Gekijo, which is a samurai story. The plot follows an honorable samurai named Yanagida Gekijo and his relationships, and Go is central to the theme of this film, and I think that it's great. I would want to watch a movie like this one day, so I will be on the lookout to see if I can find Gobanjiri. And apparently that also translates to, this was a funny translation to me, before I translated it one more time to something more appropriate, the translation I got was chessboard chop, which sounds really funny, but I guess it's more like goban slash. Jiri means slash or chop, I guess. And with that, it's time for Listener Mail Part 2. I forgot DDK Advice Corner. It's okay. You know what? The music's playing and it's weird because this is listener mail time. But I'm gonna do the DDK Advice Corner here. The DDK Advice tip of the day is check in every now and then with higher level games. Part of getting good at Go. This is so okay. Let's stop the music. Stop the music. All right. I thought it would be okay to do the DDK Advice Corner with the mail jingle going in the background, but it just felt really wrong. So let's go back into it. The DDK Advice Corner tip of the day is check in every now and then with higher level games. Okay, what I mean by that is go ahead and play your games and do what you think is right, but every now and then go flip through some games that are at a higher level, a good amount, at least 5 levels or ranks above what you're playing at. Because it's good to notice the patterns of regular play. A lot of getting good at Go is just learning what normal is. Playing normal moves gets you better at Go. So when you look at higher level games and look through a bunch of them, you'll notice things that just never happen. And you may notice in your games they happen. And they just may be vague patterns. But it's important to recognize these patterns and try to think about, why do the stronger players never play these kind of moves that I play? And just noticing that, I think, will help your game a lot. Let me give you a more concrete example. If you're experienced at the game, you should know that you shouldn't really stack your stones side by side unless you're doing kind of a pushing race. So let's say your stones are isolated and you're just stacking stones side by side. That's almost never going to happen. But as a DDK player, maybe you don't know that. Maybe that's what's natural to you. So going to professional or just higher level games and looking through how they play and noticing that that kind of move does not really happen can inform your decisions later on. It's like, oh, what do they do in this situation? They seem to knight's move and one space jump instead of stacking your stones in a line. So maybe I should stop doing that. Maybe I should try doing something more like that. You don't need to understand the games. You don't need to actually, I would discourage you from spending too much time trying to understand the moves of these higher level players. But I think it is good medicine to just look through the game and just try to notice any patterns that pop out. So that's the DDK tip of the day. And now it's time for listener mail. Well, that was weird. If I ever ask you guys a trivia question, which Starpoint episode did I play the listener mail jingle 4 times in? Well, you know which episode it is. I probably will actually forget, so maybe I won't ask that. But anyway, listener mail, part 2. Here we go. Renee says, "Hey Justin, I am really enjoying your podcast and finally caught up with episode 39 after binge listening 3 to 4 episodes a week over the past 10 to 11 weeks. Wow. Bravo. 3 to 4 episodes a week binge. I think that counts as binge listening. Thanks for listening. Here's my Go story if you'd like to hear. I came across the game of Go 22 years ago during my time at the university. I'm now 44. I tried to study Japanology and Sinology, Japan Studies and China Studies, which was a very natural place. Notice advertisements for university. Which was a very natural place for notices and advertisements for a university Go club. But as I realized over the time that university thing doesn't work out for me, I quit, life moves on, and I forgot about Go. I kept the books I bought so far, and they moved with me during the coming years, but I never looked into them until my 1-year parental leave with my youngest son in 2022. I kind of re-entered this world and was surprised how much has changed regarding the possibilities to study and play the game. I live in Germany in a small town, roughly about 5,000 inhabitants, and the nearest Go clubs or weekly meetups to play are 45 to 60 minutes away, driven by car. Yikes, I'm not gonna go that far. Honestly, I'm kind of in a similar situation, although it seems like I should be in a city where there should be more Go clubs, but anyway, I regularly attended them and they kind of graded me as 15Q. At the moment, since 2020, I'm trying to get a master's degree in business psychology or industrial and organizational psychology, so I don't really have time for an active Go life besides working, family with 2 kids, and everything that comes with it. I do play 1 or 2 correspondence games, no time limit per move at the time, and do some daily Sumego with the app Bajukpop to kind of stay in touch. Yeah, I'm sure it gets pretty hard to keep up with the hobby when you have 2 kids and all the stuff that comes at you in life. And I'm kind of also in the same boat, although I don't have kids yet. I'm still finding it hard to make time for Go. Hikaru no Go, the Chinese live-action drama series, and the documentaries AlphaGo and the surrounding game are holding up my spirit. Yes, I love all those. I haven't finished Hikaru no Go, the live-action version, but I did watch a few, and it was pretty good. What caught my ear and led to this email was you mentioning 2,400 members in the AGA. If I recall that correctly. In the German Go Association, we have around 2,000 members, which are both not many people, and I stumbled across these Go promotion videos and some German actors who fundraised this in around 2012. Indiegogo oh cool, there's an Indiegogo link and a YouTube video or YouTube link handle at PlayMoreGo. Thanks for sharing these. Actually, you know what? Isn't German? Let's do a quick Google search and see what the population of Germany is, because yes, it's significantly lower than the United States, so your ratio is, I think, a lot better. And guess what, Starpoint listeners? Germany is country number 2 in popularity for Starpoint, so shout out to Germany. Continuing on, and I had that idea to create a QR code, stickers or something like that to link to those videos, and maybe people are interested enough to look Go up and get in contact with the local Go community. Logo community. Anyway, that'll be it for now. I wanted to send you a voice message as Spotify is at random offering this, but somehow that doesn't work. If it will, I will comment some other time. You touched a lot of very interesting topics. Keep up the great work and have a nice week. Best regards, Renee. Thank you so much for your comment, Renee, and thank you for your kind words. It's very appreciated. And I think that idea with the QR code, hey, Go clubs out there, if you're listening, you run a Go club, you're part of a Go club, QR codes are great. You should probably use that and take some advice from Renee here and link some cool YouTube videos that succinctly capture what the game is. I'll try to link these in the description as well. Thanks again, Renee. Silver, if you remember, was in the chess listener mail, now is again in this listener mail, writes, me and my partner just played a little game of Capture Go on my DIY wooden Go board, and first time I can say that she actually quite liked it. I gave her a few stones a head start, so we went on chasing the stones, not thinking about scoring, just having fun, trying to surround each other. I think that's actually the way to do it. I think that's how you start off playing Go. You don't try to chase points, you just try to kill each other. I think that's really how you'll notice whenever you teach someone, they get this like creepy light in their eyes when they capture stones and they become murderous, and it just kind of sparks something in them. I think you do have to focus on the capture part of it to an extent. Before, weeks ago, when I tried to explain the rules, she was rather confused and didn't like it much because, understandably, how can you enjoy something you do not really understand? I see this game of Capture Go as a major milestone, one small step for a beginner, a giant leap for a Go enthusiast, or the other way around. And I believe when enjoying capturing stones by trying to surround them, then sometime in the future understanding Go rules should come rather naturally. As you know, capturing leads to understanding of the concept of eyes, and when you understand that, voila. At least this is my humble little Go dream, but one step at a time, Silver. Thanks for writing in again, Silver. Actually, if you haven't already, and this is not just to you, but to all the listeners, if you're not one of the people who just drop in and listen to Starpoint episodes without binge listening like a bunch of you do, if you go back to the episode about beginners, the Zen mind of a beginner, I think that's what it's called, I talk about how my experience with my girlfriend was very similar to this, and we just kind of played Capture Go, and then we just kept playing Capture Go, and it became real Go. I thought that was an interesting experience. Peter writes in with a subject line, listener mail from an influence player. Hi Justin, big fan of the podcast and been meaning to write in for a while. 3 main thoughts I had about some of the episodes. In regards to ladder anxiety, I learned a trick from the Valorant YouTuber Woohoojin. One would create 2 Go accounts A and B, say on OGS, and they were both 10Q. You'd keep playing on account A until you lose, say you hit rank 9.2Q, OGS has decimals. Now account A is locked and you can only play on account B, and you keep playing on account B until you pass 9.2Q, at which point you switch back to account A. This way your highest rank never changes, it's always on the locked account, a relatively simple solution some listeners could maybe benefit from. Though I do think it's potentially a crutch, robbing you of the personal growth aspect of separating achievement from improvement. You know what, if this is your hang-up, if any Starpoint listeners out there, you're really hung up on ladder anxiety about your rank getting affected, this is an effective strategy, I think, creating a second account on whatever platform you're on. I think Dwyron also has mentioned this, I think, and says, like, if you're hung up on that, just create another account. And I think it's totally true. I haven't heard this thing about locking an account. I think that's a cool idea. By the way, are you a Valorant player? I used to play a lot of Valorant. I don't play as much anymore, but I don't know. I'm just curious, like, what games do y'all play? Because we got Rocket League, we got Valorant. I play both of those, and it's just kind of funny because you know, this whole improvement thing, it doesn't just apply to Go, it applies to a whole bunch of other stuff, and you can use different techniques from other things and games like Valorant and try to use that for Go. Next idea is related to teaching new players and potentially hot takes. I'm of the opinion that the best way to teach new players is by the ancient rule, aka stone scoring. Benefits for beginners include, let me just do a recount. I think what stone scoring is you just play and you just play and count the number of stones on the board. The more stones you put on the board, the better. I guess you have to avoid filling in your last 2 eyes, but I think that's the basic concept. And I also agree this is a good way to illustrate what Go really is. Benefits for beginners include easy to count, just count the number of stones on the board. 2. Intuitive when the game is over, when there are no more stones to be placed. 3. Naturally learn the concept of 2 eyes. Yep, I agree with all these points. I've never tried actually teaching a game through using this kind of scoring, but if this is a struggle for anyone, I think it's a good way to understand. I believe these 3 to be the biggest hurdles of the game, and the issue of group tax is relatively minor. As beginners get stronger, they can naturally progress to Chinese and eventually Japanese rules, intuitively understanding why they're equivalent due to hopeless invasions. If anyone missed what group tax was back in the day, this is how they used to play, and they would play as many stones to fill up their board. And group taxes were put in place because the more groups you have, the more eye spaces you would need, and those would not count as points. But anyway, for another episode. Lastly, a thought on why Western players are better at the opening and theory, while Asian players, Chinese especially, are better at mid-game fighting. I suspect it's simply due to the availability of Go players. In China, there's lots of players. If one wants to improve, they'd naturally play a lot. In the West, there are few players, so to improve, many people must resort to studying books or watching videos. Would love to hear your thoughts. Keep up the great work. Best, Peter. Thanks for your comment, Peter, and I think I just straight up agree with all that. Yeah, in the West, we don't have as many people to play against, and so we just kind of dig in. We don't have enough wisdom, right? We don't have enough people around us, a community to tell us, hey, this is how you play, this is how you don't play. And so we just end up soaking in all our knowledge from books and videos and books and books. And we think about it, and that leads to higher, I think, opening theory and stuff like that. So I agree. Isaiah writes, it would be so interesting to have you interview your girlfriend on her experience learning Go. I told my girlfriend about this comment, and she was just happy that someone talked about her. Thanks for writing in, Isaiah, and it's kind of nice to actually have a face to put the name to now. Again, thanks for writing in. Heath Henning writes, direction of play is one that I really enjoy. In fact, many people think I'm quite a few stones stronger than I am, 9Q, until mid-game and my reading is worse, or I play too passive, losing points. You know what? You're the kind of player that's scary. If I'm playing against you, I know that I'm waiting for that moment when I feel like I can take a breath of air and just relax. But if you're one of those people who have a strong opening, I'm probably just going to be nervous in the beginning, like, oh my goodness, this person is playing really well. And then I'm just going to be trying to talk myself down, thinking okay, they're ranked several stones weaker than me. I just got to wait. And then sure enough, usually something happens. I'm like, okay, well, this is where the cookie crumbles. But good luck to improving that. I mean, if you work at it, you're gonna be able to patch those up. So thanks for writing in. Ferran writes, there's a guy in Northwest US, Rory Miller, who writes and teaches about applied MA. I haven't seen him in a while, but he says that moves in MA do 3 things. Defend, attack, or better your position. If your move only does one thing, you have an issue. Take care. What is an MA? Applied MA. Are you the same person who used that other acronym on me? I did figure out what that was, but I don't remember what the acronym that was previously used was. But what is it? Applied MA. I'm so confused. Applied math. No, I don't know. Somebody tell me. Abandonment writes, in case you or anyone was curious, the Haya from Hayago is just the same character in the word for fast. Hayai. So Hayago is literally just fast go. I really liked your interpretation though. Yes, thank you. I think I also like my Haya interpretation. Okay, well, do they say Haya because it means fast? Like fast! Okay, that doesn't sound like it works in English, so it probably doesn't work in Japanese. Thanks for the clarification, Abandonment. Deep Emulsion writes, I was wondering, where is a good place to get SGFs to study? Thanks for your question, and I did respond to this question, but I will respond for Starpoint listeners. If you want to find pro SGFs, I go to Wall Theory just because it's so easy to quickly look up a random pro game. Wall Theory, the amazing site where you can analyze or just branch out into different pro games. They have a good search function as well. And then Go4Go, obviously, that is the one. That's Go, the number 4, Go. That's the website. And you need an account, I believe, to actually download the SGFs, but it's pretty simple and just download it. and they have all the latest pro games there. And if you want something more of an amateur level, there is a huge archive in the Go Teaching Ladder. Just Google that, Go Teaching Ladder, and you'll find a bunch of annotated games. It's really helpful. And the question of the week this week is, have you ever played Go with a stranger? Or maybe what was it like playing Go for the first time with someone in real life? Let me know if you have any interesting stories like that or any other kind of story about Go and you want to share your thoughts on that stuff. You can comment on YouTube or the Reddit post for this episode, or you can email me directly at starpointbaduk@gmail.com. That's starpointbaduk@gmail.com. If you're a YouTube listener, I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe, and if you're a podcast listener, reviews and ratings also help. A very, very, very special thank you to Chris M., Jeffrey H., and John M. for supporting Starpoint. And I got a classic joke for you to close the episode. How many Q players does it take to change a light bulb? Enough so at least one of them can see the ladder. Thanks for listening. Keep playing Go.